I think I'm in shock right now. To start off with a vacationing, and I've had the most amazing experience of my life, traveling to a different country and staying at an all-inclusive resort. Almost everything that's within the resort is just free, and I'm absolutely blown away by the experience. I was invited to my friend's wedding, and was staying with a friend sharing a hotel room and splitting the cost. The guy I was sharing a room with has been into me for quite some time, and I've given some thought as to whether or not we could get together. We've been friends since high school, but didn't know that he had feelings until much later. Being recently divorced, however, has given me a lot of pauses when it comes to relationships, and I've been very open about my hesitation and fragility with having a partner. My ex-husband had threatened to kill himself via car crash after I told him I wanted a divorce, only to find out later he did it to try and manipulate me into staying with him, and then later, asking me if he should blow his brains out in front of my parents. Needless to say, watching someone you care about threaten suicide and blame you has had me pretty messed up. Fast forward to this vacation, we've been enjoying our time eating all the food we can, drinking, hanging out at the pool and the beach, and just generally having a great time. Last night, my friend got pretty wasted, and since he can't see very well, I was the designated guider. I kept tabs on how many drinks he had cut him off after he really started to be drunk. We went back to the hotel room, which is where he started to act really weird. It's the night before our friend's wedding, and he starts going on about how much of a great person she is and how I shouldn't judge her and how much she means to him, all well and good. Then he starts to tell me about how he'll wait as long as it takes for me to be ready to be in a relationship with him, and then calls me by our friend's name who was getting married. Needless to say, I was in shock and very much concerned. I let him ramble and get it out of his system, but I was starting to get really uncomfortable and confused about everything. He rambled on about how he was going through such a hard time in school getting ready to defend his master's thesis. How his mom has stage 3 cancer, how he has nobody in the town he lives in that will back him up or hang out with him genuinely. He starts to reach the feeling sick phase of being drunk, and I try my best to help him into the bathroom. That's when he starts to get angry with himself for being drunk, and tries to slap himself out of it, really hard. I immediately tell him to stop restraining his arms so that he can't hit himself, and this is where he absolutely lost it. He told me not to touch him, leave him alone, and just generally to fuck off. End up throwing up a couple of times, and I'm doing my best to try and help him without making him angrier. I get him into the shower to try and help sober him up faster, but when I turn the water, he gets even angrier. He starts going on about how nobody cares about him, that he's alone, and how everyone always wants something from him, but never wants to stand by him. He then starts punching himself in the chest and the wall of the shower. At this point, I realize I'm out of my depth and need help to make sure that he doesn't hurt himself and it doesn't escalate. I called the hotel front desk and they sent security, but all they did was kind of just hover and ask mundane questions while he was in the shower flooding the bathroom, and mumbling to himself. I go to the front desk while security is with him to see if I can get them to wake one of the guests up so that they can help calm him down or give me assistance in handling him. Long story short, it didn't work and they basically just sent me back to my room and said to call if anything else happened. Defeated, I came back into the room and just sat on a chair quietly. As soon as they left, he started yelling at me about how I had betrayed him and how he treated me so amazingly and how I was a heartless bitch for calling security on him. He told me he wanted out of his room in the morning, I paid for the hotel room, and he paid for the flights, and how much he hated me for doing this to him. I was so angry and hurt because all I had tried to do to that point was help make sure he was okay and safe. Without thinking, I excused myself to the balcony of our room because I wanted to get away from him, but also keep an eye on him. He came outside and started yelling again, and I tried to explain that I was just trying to help him. That's when he started saying that he was better off dead and then he had no one. I turned to reach for something in my bag, and I heard him shuffling. I whipped around to find him straddling the balcony. I screamed and grabbed onto him, to which he grabbed my wrist hard and told me to just let him go. I desperately cried for him to stop and to think of our friend who was getting married and how heartbroken and devastated she'd be. I was able to pull him off the balcony, and security came and intervened again. They moved me to a different room, and I started making plans to leave a day early and fly home. I think part of why this was so traumatic was because of the fact that I was in a foreign country for the first time, and couldn't speak the language fluently. They speak English and Spanish where I am, and I was frustrated that the hotel staff didn't see the urgency of the situation, and how far gone he was mentally at that point. The bride-to-be finally returned my 50+ missed calls, and I filled her in on what had happened. I begged her to talk to him and make sure he was okay, and then passed out from exhaustion and crying. I was able to book a flight home, and leave it in the morning, but I feel sideswiped by everything that had happened. I'm so damn tired of trying to help people and having it thrown back in my face and being blamed. My threshold for dealing with people has finally reached zero. I genuinely do want to just build my own house and live in the woods away from everyone. Watching somebody I cared for deeply try to throw themselves off a 6-story balcony absolutely shook me to my core. I'm planning on blocking him completely, and he has already reached out to try and talk about what happened, while simultaneously asking if I could throw away 12 years of friendship because of last night. I'm just done. I want to go home and sleep in my own bed and cry for a week. I can't believe this happened. I felt like I saw the real him last night, and it scared me so bad and broke my heart. I sincerely do feel sorry for him, and hope that he can get the help that he needs and that things will work out as best they can for him and the people he cares about. But I can't deal with this anymore. I've reached my breaking point. I'm shattered and alone in paradise of all places.